good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today. It's really nice to see a lot of new and familiar faces. My name is Taz Kwok. I'm the Associate Director for the Graduate College. On behalf of the Graduate College, we welcome you to the first Coffee Seminar series. If you don't know what Coffee Seminar is, it's basically a fancy term for professional development workshop on teaching and learning. Last year, we conducted a formal assessment on development workshops, and just want you to know, as a result of your voice, we have implemented a list of series of workshops for you this academic year. The Graduate College is really committed to your graduate education and your academic success throughout your lifetime here at Drexel. If you'd like to see other topics, please come see us in the main building, room 301. Dr. Elizabeth Von Doxdale, Natalie Marciano, Sandra Golis, and I are here for you every step of the way. Today we have a very special presentation for you. We have a special treat for you. And I'm not talking about the food in the back of the room. I'm talking about we have a very special guest star who has been here as long as I have, at Drexel. Before I give the torch to Michael, I would like to remind you that please check in with me at the end of the session so that you get credit for attending this workshop. And as a reminder, you have to attend 4 out of the 6 available workshops to receive a certificate for completion. And if you're watching online, welcome. Please don't forget to send me the one-page reflection report after this session. And my email address is tkk22@drexel.edu. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Michael Shelmet, the Associate Director for Instructional Technology. Michael?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that very high bar setting introduction. I'm Michael Shelmet. Today's presentation is going to be on technology in the classroom and specifically trying to focus on ways in which you can engage students, hopefully, through your presentation methods. So, as it was said, my name is Michael Shelmet. I'm the Associate Director of Instructional Technology. What does that mean? That means I head up the Instructional Technology Group. That's the team on campus that provides the training and support for Blackboard Learn, as well as all the related technologies that integrate with it, things like Turnitin and Respondus and VoiceThread, as well as things that don't directly integrate with it, things like Qualtrics, that you all have the ability to utilize fully, and then you can come and sit down with us and we will help show you how to do that. So if you're not familiar with me or my staff, we're just across the quad in the Corman Center, the nice new front of the Corman Center. If you go through there and head to the left, there's a set of double doors. There will be a sign that says only staff can get in here and that you have to buzz in, neither of which are true. You can just open the door and walk back. It's an open access area. And if you go straight back and you make a right, you'll see a neon sign. It's pretty fancy. It may be one of the only ones on campus, and that's the Instructional Technology Center. That's Corman Room 109. In there's 4 PCs, 2 Macs, a couple flatbed scanners, a printer, and my team. So we'll sit with you one-on-one and help you through anything you want to do, from creating a course to submitting grades at the end of the term, and that's kind of what we do. You can call us at 1224 24/7. You can also email us directly at itg@drexel.edu. And when I'm not at work, this is what I look like all the time. So these are the main things I want to touch on today. I have a few others for kind of technology outside the classroom, talking about presentations and other ways to do that. So specifically, I want to look at hardware. I want to talk about PowerPoint, since that's what I'm using right now. This thing that plugs into PowerPoint called Office Remote that you may or may not be interested in. Collaborate Ultra, which is a web conferencing service that you may not think is applicable, but hopefully I can change your mind and show you how engaging that can be, and talk about OneNote. So the first thing I want to talk about is hardware. Depending on the room you're in, will dictate what hardware you have. So right now I have this lovely flat panel screen. I have a computer. There's a microphone on me. There's people out in cyberspace watching. But this isn't a touch screen. I can't draw on here. If I tried to draw, it would be with the touchpad, which is actually worse than a mouse. So my 5-year-old writes better than I do with the touchpad. So you have those sorts of limitations. If you do have a smartboard in a classroom, that's something we can come to you and meet you in the classroom and kind of show you how those work. Essentially, if you've never used a smartboard before, imagine this board but interactive. So you would be able to come up here, there may be a stylus pen, and you'd be able to mark up the slides, you'd be able to tap the screen to advance them, so you can kind of interact directly with the board, you can call students up to interact with the board, makes for a more engaging presentation. If you have a stylus or a touch screen, then usually, again, markup and drawing, like drawing graphs and things like that are much easier. And then if you have the ability to play back audio and video, you can show videos in the classroom, those sorts of things. At a minimum, I'm going on the assumption that in your classrooms, you will have a computer at the front of the room that has an internet connection, and you have a projector so that everyone else who's in the room can see what you see on the computer. If you don't have that, I don't know if this will apply to you, but you should at least have that. So I wanted to take a look at the technology that we can use to engage your students. So animated GIFs are one way. So PowerPoint. Exciting new technology for presentations. Engage your students by reading from the screen. Fun! That's what you came for, right? So I heard that people don't like PowerPoint, and maybe that's why, because a lot of things, a lot of presentations are done where it's filled with text, and the person at the front of the room is reading the text, and if I'm here reading to you, and you're graduate students, and I don't assume you can read, I question why I'm here in the first place. So PowerPoint, it's kind of a standard presentation format. Everyone's familiar with it. You create slides, you go through the slides, you add animations, they can jump around and all sorts of fancy stuff. As you can see, I prefer a plain, no frills, out of the box. This is what PowerPoint looks like, white text or black text on white background, and then let me be the point of engagement for everyone in the room. So that being said, the slides can be as engaging as you want them to be. I choose to, again, have my slides be kind of plain and highlight the things I'm going to talk about so that A, I have a mental reminder of, oh right, don't forget to mention that, and B, if all you're doing is reading the slides, then you're missing a lot of what I'm saying and a lot of the content that I'm trying to get to you. So I wanted to kind of just look at a couple examples of a slide that maybe isn't so good and a way to maybe punch it up a little. These are silly. I don't teach actual courses, so I apologize. And if I would hope that at some point we'll engage and we can find out what you're actually teaching and maybe actually build out a presentation or something like that on the fly so we can see how this works. So let's say you're teaching a course in Westfall about holiday fashions, and you say, well, what are people wearing this holiday season? Well, they're wearing lots of ugly sweaters, as the case may be, and lots of people have fancy head decorations with mistletoe and stuff on it. Well, that's informative, it's nice, but what if you said holiday fashions, and then you have a picture that's engaging, it makes people smile, and they say, oh, either out loud or to themselves, and then you can just kind of talk about those things, and then rather than having text-laden slides, a single one that has all that, you fill the screen with an image that you can then talk about, and you can show ugly sweaters, and you can show other head decorations and things like that. I feel like it's one way to get the attention of the students who are in the room, and again, have the focus be on you and what you're trying to convey to them rather than having them read the slides and try and write down everything that's on there and then say, can you go back a slide? I missed the last half paragraph. So soil erosion, it's a troubling topic. There are a number of factors that contribute to soil erosion. Some of the top causes are wind and water and humans. I got all of this data from the website legiteerosiondata.com/totally legit. So it seems, I guess, legit to me. So you can have sources on there as well. Again, flat slide, not very engaging. So what if you, again, take a picture, put the stats, overlay them. So here I have the image. Again, you'll see my daughter features a lot in my presentations. You take out the main points. Here's that. Did you know children cause 47% of soil erosion? It's legit erosion data. They don't lie. So you can have things like this. So again, it doesn't have to be just a picture, but again, you highlight these main points and then you can talk about, well, wind erosion erodes the soil in this way and water does that and children have buckets with pirate flags on them and they're terrible for the soil. Or is it vice versa? I can never remember. So again, PowerPoint doesn't have to be bland. So attitudes in today's world, happiness is at the lowest it's been in 38 years. More and more people are upset with institutions, government, and otherwise. And there's data that points to several factors, and we're really not sure what that is. Who's grumpier, cats or babies? It's hard to say. I know that when people see grumpy cat and grumpy baby oversized masks, they're more happy. So let's talk about that. So again, thinking of your PowerPoint slides less as, here's my notes that I'm going to read verbatim to the class, and more of a, what's a good visual that goes along with what I want to say during the class, so that hopefully you get that engagement. A couple notes on all of this. So these are all pictures I've taken, so I own the copyright on them, so that's not a problem. You shouldn't just go and do like a Google search and be like, yeah, I want that, and steal something. I have done that later in this presentation, which you'll see, but you shouldn't do as I say, not as I do. I think that's a thing. You want to make sure you're obeying copyright laws and fair use and things like that. If you have questions, there are folks in the library who are far more copyright savvy than we are. We're far more technologically savvy. There's also a site called Creative Commons, where you can go and you can search for images, you can search for audio, you can search for video, and basically what a Creative Commons license says is, I've taken this picture, I've made this video, I have this audio file, and I'm sharing it with the world as long as you say you got it from me and you're not making a profit off of it. So there's different kind of Creative Commons licenses that can be applied to content, and then again, it allows people to use those things. So that's again one.
What's the site again?
It's called Creative Commons, and if you just, I believe it's creativecommons.org, but if you just Google search for Creative Commons, it should be the first thing that comes up. And then within that site, there's a space to search, and you kind of pick where you want to search. I think sites, I don't know if YouTube have it, but it's like Flickr has a, if you go to Flickr, it's an image sharing website, you can say search for images that are Creative Commons licensed to use in this, that I can modify them. So I can take a picture and I can crop it down and use it for what I need to use it for. And then again, you would just kind of make a footnote on the slide or at the end of your presentation to say, I got this picture from this location. So you're giving credit. Absolutely. Any other questions? Yeah, sure.
These are nice slides.
Thank you.
Yeah, for like a, so face-to-face lectures.
Yes.
What about when we do the online teaching?
I would say, again, I guess you have to think about what is it, when you're teaching online, what are they looking at, what do you want them to see, and what are they getting out of it, and then at the end, what are you giving to them? So I would say you could use this for an online lecture. We could be doing this, everyone could be virtual, and I could be still speaking to this, and I think you'd get the same point. You don't see me all animated up here, although maybe I'd be in a little inset video window. But at the same time, then at the end of this, I might say, I'm gonna give you all of my slides, and then on each slide, there's copious notes about what there are. Or again, I'd say there's additional note-related material that I will release after the presentation in the class. I think there are faculty and instructors who would say, well, if you're gonna give them all the notes, then what's the motivation to come to the lecture? And then you get into the whole conversation of, well then, okay, well I'm gonna give my lecture. At some point during the lecture, I'm gonna do like a Pee-wee's Playhouse secret word, and you need to know the secret word before you can take the test that week. I don't know if people actually do that, but you know, both online and face-to-face, you can take attendance just to see a head count. But there's no guarantee that anyone in here is actually paying attention to what I say. It seems like most of you are. Most of you are, yeah. But yeah, I would say you could use this. I would say you could use the same slides. And I feel like if you're presenting remotely, And let's say you, again, if this is a touch screen, then I have the ability, which I don't have here, to kind of like draw on this and make notations and kind of animate the slides instead of having me animated. So like when I point to this here, everyone in the room can see my hand pointing to the cat head. But if I point to it when I'm at home and everyone else is in the room, nobody sees that, so I can electronically use like a laser pointer and point to that and draw attention to things. Any other questions? No? Okay. So the bottom line is you will hopefully get out of, in terms of engagement from your students, what you put into your slides. Usually that does mean more work because you have to find the right picture and all those things. So it will take time to make your slides more engaging. Would I recommend starting and going through all of your presentations all at once to update them? No. Maybe pick a few, like a lecture here or there, if you're doing lectures or topics that you're really passionate about, to try and do that with, and then see and say, hey, and tell the students, hey, look, I have updated this lecture. Let me ask you, I want your feedback. Did you like this lecture more or less or about the same as the other lectures? And then you can find out from your students if the effort you put into making them more engaging is actually appreciated or has any payoff. Again, as I said before, I try to set up my slides as sort of a backdrop. They're here, you can read them, but you're not going to get everything from the slide that you're going to get from me. And this is, I wanted to take a moment to emphasize Office 365. So last year we transitioned and everyone at Drexel now has an Office 365 account. This is where all of your email is, so you probably know it as where your email is. But it also has OneDrive for Business. For those of you who don't know what OneDrive for Business is, or more commonly just OneDrive, it's basically Google Drive from Microsoft, or Dropbox. It's any one of those cloud sharing file storage things that we have these days. So if you make a presentation and you save it in your OneDrive account, there are a number of different things you can do with that. For one, if you forgot your USB drive or you saved it on that computer and you didn't bring it, now you're just at this computer, you can log into Office 365, you can navigate to the file, you can download it and just run it from there, but you can also just run the presentation right from within your web browser, and it'll work just as it's working here for me locally on the computer. You can then share your presentations with colleagues or faculty. So essentially, you can say, hey, I'm working on enhancing this presentation. I was wondering if you'd work with me, and then you're both editing the same presentation at one time so that hopefully when you're done, then you can both use it. So if there's two of you working on a specific topic or in a particular course, then hopefully the two of you combined will do half the work to get one whole lecture done. You also can share with folks outside of the university. I don't know that you do that for course materials necessarily, but if there was a colleague you had at another institution or a friend across the country who's really a whiz at PowerPoint that is going to help you out, you could share that so that you can all edit that online at the same time. You could also, and again, I have no idea if people actually try to do this, but as an assignment say, okay, I'm going to break the class up into groups, and each group is going to take a week, and you're going to develop at least 5 slides to cover topic X for that week. And then you have the students develop it, and you share the PowerPoint with them so they work together, and they develop kind of what they get out of it. You kind of put your spin on it, and then you have student-prepared information so that hopefully then, even if they're not more engaged in the classroom, they were more engaged in creating that slide, and at least that one thing then resonates with them more. And again, this can all be done seamlessly through the Office 365 suite of tools. So OneDrive specifically, that address portal.office.com. That's where you'd go if you don't already know to get your email, but if you log in there, you have access to all of the apps, which again includes Outlook, includes your calendar, OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. I'll be going over a couple of those later. And again, if you've never logged in there, you need to make sure you append @drexel.edu to your username. Like, so if you just type in your ABC123 and try to log in, it'll fail. If you add the @drexel.edu, you should see the login screen changes to show, I think there's like a picture of Mario on there, the giant statue at 33rd and Market, and then use your regular Drexel password from Drexel1, and boom, you're logged in. Any questions about any of that? No? All right. I tried. So one of the things I found, so quick question, how many of you in the room have one of these? Android, iOS, or otherwise, mobile device? Yes, sorry. Oh yeah, sorry.
I went to that site. It has a lot of apps, good stuff.
Okay.
And is there a place that we know what they are for?
There's a website, there's a page on the IT website that kind of goes over Office 365 and gives like a short one-sentence description of what each thing is. And I can circulate that after the presentation to make sure everyone who came here gets that. Because yeah, it does a good breakdown of like Power BI is for visualizing data and OneDrive is for sharing documents and those things like that. Yeah. So I'm assuming most people have a mobile device. So if you do, this thing called Office Remote requires that you have a PC, not a Mac, that has Bluetooth capability on it, that you have the Office Remote add-in installed, which is essentially when you install this thing, it adds a tab to PowerPoint called Office Remote, and that you have a mobile device that then has the Office Remote app and also Bluetooth installed. Essentially what it allows you to do is from your phone, then you can control your PowerPoint presentation. So essentially your phone tethers to your computer via Bluetooth. When you have the app running on your phone and the plugin running in PowerPoint, your phone will recognize, oh, he has this PowerPoint file open, start presentation. There's essentially, I have some screenshots to show you. You can navigate through your slides. It'll show notes if you have notes. If you tap the screen over the slide, it'll do a laser pointer on the screen. So essentially, it's kind of like turning your mobile phone into a clicker, a remote advancing piece of hardware. It actually also works with Excel and Word. Apparently, in Excel, you can use it to switch between worksheets. So again, I don't have a good sense of what you teach and what sorts of things you're trying to present to your students. But if you're bringing up Excel spreadsheets to go over data, you could bring up a spreadsheet and then you could go from one worksheet to the next. And again, at that same time, you could be circulating throughout the room to make sure everyone's on task, or if they have questions, they can ask you as you're going over things there. You can scroll up and down through Word documents and Excel files, as well as change the zoom level to zoom in on a particular cell or paragraph in the document. So how does it work? So this is kind of like screenshots of this phone. Essentially, you open up the Office Remote app. This will say, hey, here's all the things you can connect to. So you can connect to your car, or you can connect to the speakers, or you can connect to your computer. And if you tap your computer and your computer's on and it has PowerPoint and this thing is turned on in PowerPoint, it'll show you what PowerPoint files you have open. And then you can tap on one of those, and then that last screen there that's actually what you'd see. So this is a slide at the top. That slide should look suspiciously familiar to that slide. And then here's the time that you've been going, so it actually keeps a timer too, so you can be like, going on too long. The advancer, this is where notes would appear as well. And then again, if you actually tap on your phone, this red dot will appear so you can highlight different areas. It's not drawing, it's just a laser pointer, so you're not actually marking up the slide, you're just kind of saying, hey, this is where this is. And then at the top here, you can jump first slide, last slide, make sure you bring the presentation back to the front on your computer, and then end the show. So I put kind of like all of that together as a recording in an animated GIF so you can actually see it in motion. So this is kind of going through the steps, it starts, and then here's the app and there's the presentation. It's kind of neat. It seems to have a lot of overhead, and so as we go on, I say, if you're using your own computer and you can set this up and you're good with that, then go ahead, you should be fine. If you need to use the computer that's in the room, there's a kind of a lot of administrative access you need to get all that stuff set up. And even if you did get it set up, there's no telling that someone didn't come in and change that computer out or re-image it to wipe all that out. So I would say it's really probably not a good idea. In which case, the next thing would be a better solution. But again, if you have a computer that you're bringing to the class, and again, I don't mind being tethered to the podium, but sometimes I would prefer to roam around the audience. This is an option for you. Any questions? Does everyone know what Bluetooth is? Yes.
Do they have something similar for the Mac and Linux users in the school?
So what I'm going to Thank you for that segue. So if we move to Collaborate Ultra is a web conferencing system that is typically used to hold online synchronous sessions. So you typically wouldn't use it in a face-to-face environment. It's something that you would say, hey, it's snowing, or hey, I'm at home today, so my office hours are gonna be remote, log in to Collaborate, and if you need to talk to me, we can talk there. Think of it as like a Skype or a Google Hangout that's built into Blackboard. So this will work across platforms. And essentially what you would do is you would combine the Blackboard instructor app that you can put on your phone along with the computer at the front of the room logged into Blackboard, and essentially you get kind of the same thing. I'll live demo this. I want to kind of go through what all that is because it's kind of a lot of, it sounds like a lot of setup. I can do it, which means it can be done. It doesn't mean it's easy. So we'll go over it. So again, some of the requirements, so you need to have the instructor app on your phone. That does require that you're on either, I believe it's Android or iOS. I don't think it works on Windows Phone. And then again, those basic technology requirements. You have a computer at the front of the room with a web browser that's projecting. That should be all you need. Some of the limitations is that you can't kind of show just anything from your phone because you're going to be presenting from your phone. So you would want to load up things like PowerPoints or Word documents or PDFs or images, and then you would share those onto the screen. So,
You said that
yeah,
it works well with iPhones,
yes.
but not with Androids.
No, sorry. It works with iOS and Android. I don't believe they have a Windows version of the instructor app at this time. There is a Windows version of the student app, so I'm assuming that the Windows version of the instructor app will come out at some point in the future. But yeah, I'm assuming Android and Android and iOS covers most, if not everyone in here. Sorry, Windows Phone users. So again, what can you do then again from your mobile device? You can present files. Again, you upload a PDF of an article that everyone read. You load that up, that'll be on the screen. You load up PowerPoint slides, they would be there. Load up images, they'll be there. You can page through the document. So again, you can advance through your slides. You actually have the ability to mark up the images. So unlike the laser pointer and the other option, you actually can draw on them and make annotations. There's also a blank whiteboard feature. So you can just say, turn on the whiteboard, the screen will go completely white, and then you can just start drawing on it. Again, you have only this real estate to work with to draw, so it's a little tricky. But if you had like an iPad that had the app on it, then you have a little more real estate. Or if you had an Android tablet, again, a little more real estate to work with. It untethers you from the front of the room, so you don't have to stay here in the front of the room, you can walk around. Maybe you don't want to walk around, that's fine. You can still do this. It just gives you that ability. And it does allow for remote participation. So you're connecting to a web conferencing synchronous system. Let's say you decide this is what I'm gonna do for my classes from now on. What that means is you're always gonna be in Collaborate during class session, which means you can tell students, if you're unable to make it to class for any reason, you can attend remotely by joining Collaborate. And then they would be able to join Collaborate. They would be able to participate in the session. They'd see everything you'd see. As long as your microphone's on, they'd hear everything you're saying, because essentially you're projecting, you're picking up audio from your phone. And then it's kind of like they're there even though they're not there. You also have the option of recording these sessions. That's not on the slide. So you could record them and say, well, you can't attend live, but you can view the recording if you need to. And then again, that way, they get the benefit of seeing your nice new shiny slides and then hearing everything that you had to say over those slides. Yes?
Do you launch Collaborate Ultra from Learn?
Yes, so you're going to launch it twice. You're essentially going to launch it once from the browser on the computer, and then you're going to launch it again through the instructor app on your phone. And like I said, I'm going to try and do a live demo. We'll see how it goes. Live demos are notorious for leaving presenters standing at the front of the room saying, this never happens. But we'll see what happens. So this is kind of the steps. You log in, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna go over that, we'll actually see that. So because as I'm doing it, you will not see my phone, this is what my phone will look like as I'm going through this. So when you go into the instructor app and you say launch Collaborate, it's gonna ask you if you have both apps, do you wanna launch it with the Blackboard app or the Blackboard instructor app? You want to choose Blackboard Instructor because that will give you the ability to moderate the session. I apologize, let me back up. I'm assuming that you're all added as teaching assistants or you're listed as instructors in the courses in Blackboard for the courses you're teaching. If that's not the case, this won't work. If you need to get added and your instructor's okay with that, we can help you get added. So that's hurdle number one. You want to choose this one. If you choose Blackboard, then you're only as a participant. You can't do anything. Just close the whole thing and start over again. When you get in, if no one else is in, which the only thing would be in there, it'll look like this. You can turn on your video if you want to, and then you can see your own smiling face down there. And then everyone else will see your smiling face. Again, totally unnecessary. Just want to point it out as an option. What you probably really want to do is you have the ability to share files. So if you tap on this folder icon at the top right, you'll get a list of files that are already loaded into the course. You'll also have the ability to load files from within the course. So if you've linked them to a PowerPoint presentation in week 5, you can say pull that in and load it up. I would recommend that anything you want to use, you preload before your session, which you can do, and then it's just there and accessible for you to just call up at any time. This is a PowerPoint presentation that I did load up. Again, you can see it only takes up that much screen real estate because it's a horizontal thing and a vertical, vertical video syndrome is a thing. So a couple things to point out here. You have your slide advancement over here on the right. You have tools down here at the left, down at the bottom. So this is your pointer tool. This, what looks like just an O is your color selector. It's black on black, so you've selected black in case you want to start marking up the slide. You have this, which will clear everything you've written on the slide. So for example, if you're teaching math or you're going over functions and you have a graph on here, you can draw the curve of the graph. You can talk about the graph. You hit clear, it wipes it out. You draw a brand new line over top of the graph. Just one of the uses of that. And then this here, this little speech bubble is the chat tool. So again, if you have students connecting into the session, they can chat on there, and then you can either expand the chat panel on the front screen so that everyone can see what's being asked, or you could just see the messages on your phone so that if you were in a large lecture hall, and you said, hey, if there are questions, log in to Collaborate and chat them to me, and then you can kind of walk around and be like, I'll be talking to everyone. And then you say, Michael just asked a wonderful question, when do we eat? And then you can answer the question and kind of move on, especially if it's relevant to everyone. If you turn your device horizontally, it will auto-rotate, and so your slide will fill the entire screen. If you tap on the slide, two things will squeeze in and you'll get your tools again. If you click on the pointer tool, which is what's selected initially, you can change that over to any of these tools. So you have the pencil tool, which is kind of like a free drawing. Squares, rectangles, quadrilaterals, I guess regular quadrilaterals, circles and ovals and lines. So if you select the pencil tool, you'll see the pencil tool's highlighted. You can then tap on that second circle there. That's where you get to select your color. I'm going to trip and die over these cables, I swear. You get to select your color, and again, for whatever you want to mark up. And then once you do that, you can draw on the screen. And again, after you're done drawing, you can wipe it out and kind of move forward. When you're done, you can click Stop Sharing. That file will no longer be presenting. You can select another file. You can end the session, whatever you like. If you click on the options, when you stop sharing, you come back to this view. If you click on that option, you would see these features that are here now. Apologize for anyone over here. So you can start recording. Again, if you want to record your sessions, you can do that. You can turn on the plain whiteboard. So again, a plain whiteboard will load like this. Again, if you turn your phone, the whiteboard will fill the screen. You can draw on that. As you can see, I'm not a good drawer. You can also access shared files from here. And if you were to scroll, is that up? I don't. If you look further down on the device, there will be more names here for anyone else who may be logged in. When you're here, when you're done, you would tap that, it would turn off the whiteboard, and again, you go back. Simple, right? It's really involved. So what I want to do is I want to actually try and get this to work so you can see how long it takes for me to get it all set up, and then whether or not this is an engaging thing for us to do. So bear with me as I go to Chrome. first hurdle is to log into Blackboard. Speaking of Blackboard, is everyone somewhat familiar with Blackboard? Who all uses Blackboard in their courses right now? Like in any way, shape, or form? Okay, that's good. All right. So pretend I'm you, and you're like, what happened to my hair? And you log into your course, and you've added the Collaborate Ultra tool in your course menu. You would click on that, and now this is like the tricky part. So you would think, hey, I want to get secure link and just join the session. But you don't, because if you join this session here, you're joining the session here as you, as the presenter. You don't want to present from your computer, you want to present from your phone. So what you do is you click on the 3 dots that are on the far right there. You don't right click, you just regular click. You click copy guest link. That copies that to the clipboard. You open up a new tab, you paste that link, you hit enter. You're now launching Collaborate on this computer at the front of the room. You say join from browser, and you can type in whatever you want here. I think front of the room is a good name for what this is. So you join the session as a participant called front of the room. Front of the room is now joining Collaborate, the live synchronous thing. Supposedly. There we go. We close that overlay. The room is empty, no one else is in here. Where did everyone go? Well, no one was there. So now, we unlock our phones. We launch, again, that's why I went over all those screenshots, because you're not gonna be able to see me doing any of this. You launch the app. It may or may not ask you to log in again. Why is it asking me to log in again? So you log in yet again. I swear there's a payoff here. If you can type your password in, it'll work. If you can type your password in. All right. For those of you not here with us, this is really tense right now. Thank you. All right, so I'm in my class. I'm clicking on course content. I'm clicking on collaborate. It's actually launching almost the same way it did there. It's got the purple little swirly circle. Here's where I click get secure link. I choose join course room. It's logging me in. Again, we hope. Choose Blackboard instructor. I don't know why I'm holding up. I guarantee you most of you can't see this. It's connecting. We hope. Ah, smiley face, we've connected. Oh, there we are, look at that. I'm in, it's crazy. All right, no chin. Hey. And then we can turn it. Hey. Oh, my finger's in the way, this is terrible. So you could do that, isn't that fun? So I could be all the way over here and you still see me? Like the remote people can see me there, they can't see me here. That's not what we're not here for that. So that's fun and all. So what can you do? So I'm tapping on that folder that was at the top right, and I see that list of files, and I say, let's do that same PowerPoint presentation. Understanding Comics. Last winter I taught a 1-credit course for the Honor College called Understanding Comics, book by Scott McCloud. If you haven't read it, go out and read it. I don't care if you don't like comics. It's a wonderful book. So we got it loaded up. I can go anywhere I want now. Tap on this, tap on this, tap on this. Okay, so we're going to go through. All right, so how to read a comic. Is everyone paying attention? Because I'm here, paying attention. So you read it panel by panel, okay? You typically go left to right, top to bottom, but that's not always the case. May vary. It may vary drastically, so just pay attention. Drastically. Circle that. All right, so I'm ruining my slide. Anyway, I think you get the idea. So here it is. Here's a comic. Start there. Read that top panel first, then you go down to the left, then you go over to the right, if this advances, there we go. Then you go down again to the left, and down, and down. So, you start up here, you go down, over, down, over. That's how you read a comic. Any questions? Yes?
Can you make it to
That is an excellent question. I can, and I probably should have done that. Where is the full screen option? Oh, come on. I can swap my video over. I thought I could do it. Oh, there it is. Full screen. No? Other one? Plus? No? Apparently I can't. I could have swore I could. I don't know why I can't.
You can't take the header out on the collaborator.
Oh, you know what I could probably, all right, I don't think I can do it from here. One of the things you can and should do, which I didn't do, this is good, see, we're all learning. Right now, this room has all the tools enabled, so anyone who comes in here can do anything. They can write on the slides too. I don't really want that. If we take that away, that should get rid of this, and then that should give us a little more screen real estate. But I thought there was actually a full screen button. I will look and find why I can't find that right now. I'll circulate that to everybody. So again, we can go on with the presentation if we want. Let's look at something more complex. So here's one. How do we do this? Start at the top. We go down. Go back to the top. Go down again. Transition over. And then go down. And down. Again, this is connected to the wireless in here. So again, I can go anywhere. The Bluetooth tethering of however many feet doesn't apply. Yes?
So let's say you were using this to teach a class online, right?
Yep.
So your students who are scattered across wherever
Yep.
can hear you. Can they respond verbally to you?
They can if I have, so there's four tools that you can turn on for participants. I already talked about the whiteboard tool, so that you can turn that on. There's also then audio and video, as well as a text-based chat.
Okay.
So if I open this up.
You have all that where they could write on the slides might actually
Yeah.
be kind of cool.
Right, and I think the thing is you can't change those settings here on the fly on the app. That may be coming later, but if you can, then you could turn it off, don't let them draw, and then turn on and say, hey, I want you to draw on the slide, and then have people draw on the slide. So you could say, what's the next panel we go to in this comic? And then people could circle it. So we have text chat here. I have text chat here. So I can say things there. And again, if anyone else joined this room, they could do the same thing and it would pop up. Again, you saw it kind of popped out there. So one of the things that's kind of nice is I can leave this collapsed, and if anyone says something, it kind of pops out, says something, and then I can say, oh, that. And then I would actually see it on here as well and say, oh, okay. Someone in the way back who didn't want to speak up actually texted a message, and now we're actually maybe a little more engaged than we were if I was just asking people to talk and ask questions and no one had any questions to ask. So that was one file. There's other files you can share. So I believe you were asking about the carbon cycle, right? I think it was you. So here's the carbon cycle. Animated GIF. You can load those up. Again, it's not video, but animations, they move around. You can speak to them. I don't know if I can draw on this. Maybe I can. Let's see. I can. Look at that. So again, is this more engaging? I don't know. Could be. I don't know the carbon cycle, so we're going to skip that. The rainfall coverage of Harvey in Texas last year. Here's an animated map of that. Let's talk about the weather patterns during last year's hurricanes. Here they are. We can see that, this is moving this way. Again, the markup may not be as clear. You have to find the right contrasting color to put on there. But again, I went from I would have to use a touchpad and draw worse than a 5-year-old to now I just use my finger and I can kind of write naturally on things. What else we got? I'm not sure if this is going well. Maybe it's going all right. What was this one? Yeah. RNA transcription. Anyone want to go over RNA transcription? You can give the thing. You can talk about adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine. The only thing I remember from college biology, which isn't RNA. That's DNA. I know, but you know, I'm getting older. There's also, and again, this is weird for me to do it. There's a hand raise, so I can raise my hand. There's like a little indicator. So again, if you were using this in conjunction with online students or students who weren't actually in the room, you would tell them, hey, raise your hand so I know to call on you or engage with you as you're off in cyberspace. I think that was all of the images I wanted to share. Oh no, there's this one. So let's talk about Saturn, the Cassian orbiting of Saturn. Isn't that awesome? Look, the Saturn's casting a shadow on its own rings. We would never see it from Earth. That's so cool. Yeah. So again, you can load anything you want in here. PowerPoints, images, animated GIFs, PDFs. And again, I'll work on getting I don't know if we do, is it F12? How do you do? See, now I'm meddling with forces I don't understand. I don't know the shortcut key for going full screen. Oh, there it is. Look at that. There's a little more screen real estate. And again, if we got rid of those other things, maybe that would work. This still doesn't work. This allows, I think, people to, you know, view it actual size or have it fit the screen. So again, I didn't show this yet. I can grab a color that's not black. We can talk about this part of Saturn, and then I tap that eraser button. It says clear all, all gone. Draw more stuff. You know, that old thing. So again, you're limited now in your drawing space to what you have on your device, but now you have a touch screen when you didn't before. You can wander amongst the people if you choose to do so, and hopefully that in and of itself would be a little more engaging. Any questions about that?
No.
Fair enough. I guess what I didn't show was if I tap the whiteboard, when I flip that switch, it just, you know, the screen goes white for me. I can then grab a pencil, I can grab a color.
That's a nice feature.
Right? It's pretty cool, huh? So again, what I was talking about before was if you loaded a slide that was literally just, where did my pen go? There it is. That was literally just an X and a Y axis, and that was like the picture you loaded, then you would have the ability to kind of draw a line on there to mimic some function. This is the Wawa function. And then when you clear all, it would just clear what you wrote, and that graph would still be there. So you keep doing that. Again, hopefully that helps one person in this room. I have no idea. Yes?
Can a student write on a board?
Yeah, so you could, again, if the tools are active, you could do a couple things. You could tell students, hey, log into the Blackboard app, access the Collaborate room, and then I'm going to ask you all I'm going to call on you and say, hey, where's the left ventricle on the heart, or tell me where Texas is on this map. You could also tell students to come to the front of the room, and since I have the ability to use the tools here, I could say, oh, this is the point we're looking at. And again, you know, just interact up here. Yes?
If you're going to use this, I would tell you the very first day you're going to use it, make sure all your students are there, and you're going to make sure they can use it. It'll interrupt a lot of your instructional time if you're assuming they can hear you, or they can talk to you, or they can do something, and they have no idea how to do it. Either they don't want to slow down the class, or they just pretend they're not there. So many times the first thing we'll do if you're at a collaborative session, at the remote one, is say, can everybody hear me? Give me hands up. Just do a head count just to make sure they can hear you. Sometimes they haven't set their mics up, they haven't set their audio up, and they have to do additional steps that they never did in settings. So you might have to include a complete step-by-step guide as part of your syllabus or part of one of your helping forms on how to go and collaborate, how how to set things up, or at least go to the YouTubes for Collaborate and have them set it up and do a test, maybe just one Collaborate session as a test one. So everybody's familiar and can use it before we even start trying to go into instruction. I've been on the other end where we spent maybe 15, 20 minutes of an hour just to get everybody can hear. Everybody's going back and forth. Some people dialing through a phone number to the back end. There's all kinds of things going on. So to really make sure your students are with you ahead of time. And also it makes it easier for you because now you're following trying to explain, collaborate to them when you're wasting a lot of class time.
Thank you. Yes, that's an excellent point. Something that I failed to mention because it's like one of those things that I just do, but any technology you want to use, you should test it out before you actually use it in a live class setting. If you can, get in the room you're going to use, log into that computer if that's the computer you're going to use, and make sure everything that you need to have works. And then my team can help provide that documentation if you need it to say, hey, I want to use Collaborate, so what's the checklist for my students to make sure they can use it successfully? And then we can help work with the documentation with you, provide you stuff we already have, you can cater it to your needs, and then you deploy that in the course, and then hopefully everyone will have a successful time. And if you don't, if there's any issues, remember you're not tech support, that's our job, so you would direct them to us to make sure we can fix their problems. Any other questions on that? Yes?
As part of your instructional, when you have students doing collaboration groups, some people use Skype, some people will use Google. I found out with a lot of the groups too, you can use Collaborate for the video, and you can do a conference call on your cell phone for 3, 4 people. The audio is very clear on the cell phone. But the big thing when you're using Collaborate, everybody has the Drexel One password. Everybody has access to the same tools. You know it's all going to be compatibility. And within your Blackboard section, you create a saved file area. So when the students are finishing their files, they have a shared file area right there. So instead of having somebody worry about going to Google Drive, I like OneDrive. No, I like this drive, or I like this. You have something that's right through Drexel. Everybody has it, and there's not going to be a conformity issue. Because when you do a Google Drive document, and you try to modify it with Microsoft Word, there's an awful lot of formats that change. Italics change, fonts change. It gets really messy. So if you make everybody do the Collaborate, or at least allow that, it keeps somebody from overpowering somebody else saying, I only use Microsoft, or I only use this, or I only use that.
Right. And I think the key there is consistency, and to make sure you're using the most secure thing that is provided. If you use OneDrive, then you know that this is the university-provided solution for that. If there were there any other questions on Collaborate? Again, we can talk about it more. I feel like that live demo went a lot better than I could have hoped. Hopefully, you see how you can use it and how it does take time to set up, but it's kind of like you do these things at the beginning of class, you're all good to go. Once it's hooked up, it's hooked up. And again, this is cross-platform. The fact that I'm on Android and PC doesn't matter. If this was a Mac and this was an iOS device, still would work. So that was the long way of answering your question. Yes?
And if you have a guest speaker, you can send him or her the link.
Correct.
He can join in and he can also do the same tricks.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you have someone who's outside your class, whether that's another Drexel person who just isn't enrolled in the course, or someone external to Drexel, and you want to bring them into the class, this is actually one way you could do it. If you connect this way through Collaborate, then you can give them that same guest link. They would join, typing in their actual name. They could turn on their camera and their audio, and then when they speak, they're speaking to the class. The class can respond. It's a great way to facilitate those sorts of connections. In terms of in-class presentation, I wanted to go over OneNote, again, mainly because if you're looking for a break from, if I'm telling you, just make PowerPoint better, it's better, and you're like, no, that's fine. We have OneNote. If you're not familiar with OneNote, essentially, it's a digital note-taking tool that's kind of just open and free-form, and you can do basically whatever you want with it. So the idea would be you would create different OneNote notebooks, and I kind of like outlined what does that mean. So for example, you could say, well, I'm going to create a OneNote notebook for the current academic term, because I'm TAing 3 courses, and I want to just keep everything for this term in one central place. So you'd create a winter quarter 2017-18 notebook. In that, you'd create 3 sections, one for each of your courses. You're teaching course A, B, and C. So you have section A, B, and C. And then in each section, you would have pages. And so you'd have a page for my notes. So maybe these are notes that you're just keeping to say, keep your eye on this student. I don't like the cut of his jib. Or don't forget to mention this thing in class, the big prize giveaway at the end of the year. But then you maybe have one for each class session, which is, again, your notes for your presentation, because you don't want to use PowerPoint, and totally fine. On a OneNote page, you can do any and all of these things. Again, you can click and just start typing text. You can drag an image and drop it in. You can drop links. You can start drawing, all sorts of stuff. This is essentially a screenshot of what OneNote looks like in the web interface. So there's an app and there's the web interface. The web interface, basically what you have here on the left-hand side, I have open a notebook right now called Projects that I'm currently working on or have worked on. You can see Tech in the Class is one of my projects. I then have a page called What is OneNote, which is, that page name is mimicked here. And then on this page, I clicked and just started typing. I got my old pen out and started drawing with my mouse. This is actually a really good drawing for me. And then I dropped a picture of my daughter in there and then marked it up a little with some pink ink. So this could be anything, again, screenshots, images, links, etc. So how does that work? Well, again, if you log into this, I went to portal.office.com. I logged in with my Drexel account, making sure to add @Drexel.edu to the end of my username. And I got here. If I click on OneNote, that'll launch OneNote for me. Assuming the network is still connected, which it is. It'll show me the recent notebooks I worked on. It'll also show me my notebooks I have, along with any notebooks that are shared with me. So if I click to open one of these, it'll open the notebook in OneNote Online right in the browser. I can click on the section, Tech in the Class. It opens that page. Here's the page. You can see it kind of scrolls a bit to the right for me. But I can just say, here's something else I need to remember. I can, oh, I didn't want to do that. Say I go to the desktop. Is anyone familiar with the snipping tool? Yeah? All right, snipping tool. Single greatest tool Windows ever created, as far as I'm concerned, besides Clippy. If you hit your Windows key and you start typing snip, you should find it. It should come up there. And press enter, it'll launch the snipping tool. And you might say, well, what the heck is the snipping tool? The snipping tool is basically taking screenshots. So if one of the things you're trying to do is present to students, hey, we're using this specific software. Everyone's having problems when they get to this step. Here's how you get through it. You can launch the snipping tool while you have the software open on your computer. When you have a new snip, by default, it's taking a rectangular snip, so you'll get this like kind of crosshair. And basically what it's asking you to do is define the 2 extreme endpoints on a rectangle. So I would say, okay, I go up here, I click down and drag, and then boom, I let go. There's my picture. So there's my snip. I, within the snipping tool, can mark it up. There's this button here, which is copy. So it copies that image to the clipboard. And then once I have it on my clipboard, I should be able to go back to OneNote, click over here, Control-V paste. OneNote will process, boom, right in there. So again, this is also how I got a lot of the screenshots in the PowerPoint presentation. So again, the snipping tool, you're copying images, you're taking a picture of what's on your computer screen. You can copy it to the clipboard to paste it in somewhere. You can also save it as a JPEG or a PNG file to use it or distribute just that. And then, again, kind of go from there. I don't know that you'd want to use OneNote as a presentation tool, except to say, if you had the ability, can we not? I thought there was a way to like collapse this. No, you can only make it even bigger. basically what you could do is you could say, I want to insert a new page, today's class. And let's say you just kind of, you know what you want to talk about. And whatever you're talking about is you want to just write on the board. If this were a smart board, you can click up here to draw, grab the pen, choose a color, and then the smart board, again, since it interacts, it's kind of like a giant touchpad. As you're writing on here with your finger or the stylus, it's writing in OneNote. So you're using OneNote as essentially like a giant digital whiteboard. The good thing about it is it's already saved. It's saving it as you go. This is like your notes. So you don't ever have to like erase the board. You just kind of keep scrolling down. You can create new pages. So you could say, today's class, or you could say, class 1, part 1. And then we're going to talk about this topic, and we're going to scroll and draw as much as we need to, and then I'm going to create a new page for part 2, and then a new page for part 3. And again, no. Draw. I can't draw. Imagine that's actually words.
Let's say you have access to Office 365 through 2 different institutions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you save notebooks in OneNote, they would be under separate accounts, right?
That is correct.
So if I wanted to make all my OneNote documents available in the same place, would I just consolidate those 2 email accounts in Outlook, or would I have to do something else?
That is an excellent question.
Share them with each other.
Yeah, I mean,
Share lives when you log into your OneNote.
I was gonna say that's like probably the best idea is to say, here's where, like pick an institution, like say, here's Drexel, share this with my other institution, and then your other institution when it logs in would have that as a shared notebook. That's probably a simple solution. Because I don't know that Drexel will allow you to combine your Drexel account with another institution's account. Yes?
One thing I've done before with OneNote in the classroom using as a presentation tool is that I have all the students share their notebooks with me, and so I can actually have them on the fly while I'm going to pull up some students' work. Say, oh, how did you do this? And it's the equivalent of rather than coming up to the board, I just like.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great, because again, these can be shared. So you have the option of saying, I will share the OneNote notes out with everyone who attended the class, or you can say, again, I want you to share OneNote notebooks with me, or I'll create OneNote notebooks with you that I'll share with you and give you each a page, and then you do your work on your page, and then we'll look at that during class time. And again, you can call students up to the board here, again, assuming it's a smart board, to kind of draw on that and interact with it. And if it's shared, you can work on it simultaneously. So there's kind of, OneNote for me has been kind of more of a habitual change that I haven't just started using OneNote more. I pick it up, I do a couple things with it, and then like in a couple weeks, I'm just not using it anymore. So I just haven't picked it up, but it's really great, it's really useful. I should be using it, because then I would have one central place for all of my stuff. Yes?
How do you create each one of your notes? How do you create a new note?
Oh, like on the page? You just start clicking. So if I go back to type as the tool, and I just click over here, new note.
No, I'm referring to your left panel there.
Oh, sorry, over here. So these are sections. They're like the colored tabs. So that's like think of that as a folder, and then each one of these is a page. So you'd say insert new page, and then that gets a new page, which again fills in over here. So the idea would be, right now I'm in my Course A tab, my Course A folder, and then I'm creating notes for that course. So again, one of these could be personal notes. These are my notes for the class. You could have a note page for every day. You could have a note page for each student.
So the second icon is the create a new section?
Yeah, to create a new section, we'll create a new tab over here, and then new pages within a section, create a new page on that section. Right. Yeah, it's like that. That's the nesting. And then again, that like once you're in the page, you're just clicking and doing whatever you want, wherever you want. Which again, is good and bad. Yes?
Is there an iOS app?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's an app for OneNote on either. I would assume there would be. It's Microsoft, and they develop for the market, so it should be iOS and Android. I will check on that as well and follow up.
This seems like to have an app that
Yeah, like an iPad or a tablet. It's a no-brainer. Because I think there's also, I don't know if we have it in here. There's an edition where if you're writing, it'll try and do like OCR and recognize what you've written and convert it to text, so that you just handwrite things and then now it's actual characters. Then you can copy and paste it, put it in an email. Like that's pretty cool. We live in the future. It's crazy. Any other questions about OneNote? Again, not sure how robust, how good of a presentation tool it is, but I feel like it's super versatile and it could be used in that fashion. At the very least, it's a good way for you to keep notes and again, share a notebook with colleagues about a course to work on things, synchronously or asynchronously. Let's go back to this. So that was all of my technology, like when you're in the classroom. These were 3 of the things, and I've already talked about at least one of them already, that you can kind of set up outside the classroom and use. So Skype for Business, again, with Office 365, everyone has Skype for Business. If I actually go back to my thing here, I think I have to, if you go into Outlook, which I don't really want to do during a live session. I don't think I want you to see my email. But if you go into Outlook, at the top right, the little Skype S will load, and you'll actually have kind of a stripped down chat interface right there in the browser. So you won't have to install the app. And that basically allows you to text chat IM like anyone at Drexel. We have a global address list. So if you look up Shelmet, I'm the only Shelmet here, you'll find me and you can just start chatting with me if you wanted to. Skype, if you have the app in, also allows you, if we go back here, you can actually, again, do sort of like a web conferencing thing. So you can launch, if you started a chat conversation with a student and you're like, well here, let's actually take a look at that. You can launch into a call, and then once you're in the call, they can see and hear you if you turn on your audio and video. You can see and hear them if they do the same thing. But then there's also a screen, I don't know that I think it's under those buttons, there's a screen sharing capability where you can say, okay, here, I pulled up the Excel spreadsheet. Let's take a look at it together. And you kind of go over what it is, and so they can see that. You can give them control. They can share their screen so you can see what they're doing and where they're struggling and kind of help them directly. So again, presentation not in front of the classroom, but you can still present. You can also bring in multiple people. You can also, as you're creating recurring meeting events, like if you create your office hours as a thing in Outlook to book your time, you can create it as a Skype meeting so that Skype would be part of it, and you can say, hey, I'm inviting you all to this meeting. If you want to come to my office hours, it's via Skype. So I'll be in Skype, just hit me up on Skype, we'll talk there, and then I'll log off when I'm done. And that way you don't have to be in one physical location. They can come and, talk to you wherever you are. Again, that can be good or bad. So again, it's available from the Outlook tile. I said that, so if you launch in your mail, you'll see it there. You download and install the app for more features. And in terms of app, I mean like app for phone and like install the application on your computer, so that there's a Skype for Business app that would launch on your computer. You would log in, and then you kind of have the instant messaging capabilities and meeting capabilities right there. As I mentioned, there's a global address list, so everyone and anyone at Drexel is there. So if you have a question, you can ask directly. Again, you have that audio and video capability feedback, and you can share your screen. So this is a bad slide because I just read it because I already said everything. I didn't realize it. There are apps for this. So here's the apps for the mobile devices. When you're using it, setting up and signing in, chat, sharing and scheduling and recording meetings, so you can actually record meetings, at least in the Windows version. There's links for all that. Everyone copy those links down? No, I'm going to share the slides because these were not shortenable links. So that's Skype for Business. Again, something you can use. You don't have to. I'm still waiting for an influx of people who just contact me directly, but no one does. That's not a challenge for anyone here or there, just statement of fact. So now I'm going to, we talked about OneDrive for Business. One of the things I wanted to talk about, a couple things. So I mentioned how it's secure and it's cloud-based, and I think everyone understands the concept of cloud storage at this point. You have 5 terabytes of storage. I don't know if everyone understands how much space that is. It blows my mind. That's a lot of pirated movies. I mean, it's a lot of content for courses. It's a lot of space. So there's no reason you should fill it up, but if you do, I think we can actually get you more. So use it. There's no reason you should save anything just on this computer. You can have the OneDrive for Business application installed on your computer so that there's a folder so it looks like things are local, but everything then syncs to the cloud so that, oh my gosh, my computer died, or oh, I forgot my computer. Well, I log into the browser, I download the file, boom, I'm good to go. You don't even have to download the files. You can edit Word documents and Excel files and PowerPoints right in the web interface. And I have these screenshots here because if you're sharing a document, you're collaborating with someone, and you're both in the web interface at the same time, this is essentially what you see. You see, I'm here, you're here, and you're typing, and in real time, my text appears, your text appears, I'm deleting, you're deleting. We're seeing each other edit this stuff in real time. So again, I feel like that's helpful for you in collaborating with your colleagues. I think it's an interesting way of saying to students, I've created a Word document for this group, I'm sharing it with these 3 students, this is where I want you to work on stuff. Now, you won't be able to say who made what, with version tracking you might. You might not be able to say very explicitly who did what, but you give them one space to work on a document, then you say, all right, then when you're done, submit this through Learn, and then I'll have a copy of that in the course. So again, another way of collaborating. Speaking of Learn, Blackboard is working on building OneDrive for Business integration into Blackboard, which means, again, as students, if your students are saving their files to OneDrive, when they go to submit an assignment to Blackboard, they'll be able to say, oh, go to my OneDrive, pull this file and submit it, and it'll take a copy from the cloud and put it in there. So that, again, you don't have to save anything on your computer. You can leave everything in the cloud storage and just pull it down. Again, accessible everywhere. Question?
So if you're using this for like backup for your personal files or something like that? Not personal, I mean.
Yeah, no. The term backup is, it's like, it really shouldn't be a backup. It should be like where you're actively working on things. Yes, you can use it to kind of archive stuff and say, well, I'm not going to touch this anymore, but I want to keep it safe.
I'm just thinking like in STEM, a lot of people, you write your quizzes or something like that in tech.
Oh, gotcha.
My tech files.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Yes, you can put anything in there. You can put huge files. Right, you can't compile tech. You won't be able to like, edit a Photoshop image file in there. It's Microsoft, so the Microsoft products will work natively. However, you can put anything in there. And so like we use it a lot of times when we're doing course restores. Some of the backup files for courses can get really large, and I'm talking like tens of gigs. They upload into there, no problem. I transfer it over, they download it, it's a done deal. So again, in that case, you want to make sure, like, don't just drop like a 10 gig file into the folder and assume the Apple sync. I've seen issues with that. Like I would explicitly upload it into there. But yeah, you can put, I apologize, you can put any type of file into OneDrive that you want. It's not limited to just Microsoft files. In case anyone else had that same question. That was a very good question. And this is my OneDrive. It's organized and disorganized at the same time. So I have all these folders, but then I'll have the same folder embedded in another folder, so I won't know which folder I put it in. It's a mess. But this is essentially what you see when you go to OneDrive. You can create new Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote files, as well as folders for organization right from here. You can upload files. If you select things, so I'm not hovering over anything here, but there's icons that'll appear. So you can share an individual file or an entire folder with someone. Sorry, yes?
Sorry, since this is run through the university,
Yes.
who owns the files that are put in here?
You do. We actually have zero access to get inside anyone's OneDrive account. And I've been asked that question multiple times and escalated within IT who talked to Microsoft, and they're like, there's basically a process for Microsoft. If I said, hey, I need to get at someone's files, there's a process at Microsoft that has like 3 layers of escalation. They've never gotten it past the first layer of escalation before they were like, just forget about it. They've never given files from someone else to someone else. So private and secure for you as well. Like, we can't get to them. That's good because we can't get to them. It's bad because if you need help with something, we can't get to them. You just have to share it. So they are secure. So again, I was saying you can share an individual file or an entire folder, and if you share a folder, if you share it with, grant the same permissions to anything else that's in here, you can create subfolders, anything is in there is shared. So again, you can create a folder for course A, share it with a colleague who's also teaching the same course, and then anything you two put in there and work on, you have shared. Over here, you have recent and shared with me is really important. So when people share things with you, they won't automatically show up in the list here. You have to go to shared with me, and that's explicitly the things that, hey, I shared this with you, you would find that in the list. You also have search everything. So if you know like a keyword, you can type it in search everything. It'll find wherever that is anywhere at all. OneDrive's kind of cool and creepy at the same time. So I've been reading books and I'll take like a picture of the page and I'm like, oh, that's a good quote. And I take a picture and then I realized that Microsoft was doing OCR and actually I had the like copyable text of that picture when I got out. Plus, if I take a picture, like if I use an analog whiteboard and then take a picture of it, it'll say like, oh, we've enhanced a whiteboard picture because it recognized it was a picture from whiteboard and took off the glare or whatever. Thank you. So that's OneDrive. File sharing, we finally have it. It's wonderful. I strongly encourage everyone to use it. And again, if you have issues with it, come see us. We can help you with that. The last thing I was going to talk about in the last 10 minutes here is VoiceThread. VoiceThread is for presentations. The easiest way to explain it is if you took a PowerPoint file and you uploaded it to the web and kind of flattened it out, and so it wasn't PowerPoint anymore, it was just still images that you can then audio narrate. That's kind of the best way to think about it, but it's not just PowerPoints. You can upload PDFs, you can upload images, you can put video in there, all sorts of stuff. The idea is you create presentations and or interactions. This is something that's actually linked directly within Learn, but you can also create, so you can do a couple things with it. You can use VoiceThread to create your lectures. So you have your slides and then you upload it to VoiceThread, then you auto-narrate each slide, and then you have created an asynchronous lecture for your students. You can then assign to students to say, hey, I need to make sure you watch this VoiceThread, and then that assignment doesn't get complete until they watch it. Now again, they're sitting at the computer letting it play. Are they watching it? Are they engaged with it? The computer can't say. They can say that they clicked start and it went all the way through. You can also force them to comment on it, but you can also have an assignment where they have to create their own VoiceThread. So this is really good for, in two senses, for individual student presentations or group presentations where you're online or there's just a lot of students in the class. So think of like flipping the script where you say, okay, you're working in groups to create presentations. You're going to do it through VoiceThread. Everyone have your presentation done by this date. Everyone watch everyone else's presentation by that date. And then in class, every group's going to get up. They're going to give the 2-minute spiel of what their presentation was. And then we're going to take 10 minutes to talk about the presentation rather than 20 minutes to have them do the presentation and talk about it. So you can utilize more class time then to be more engaged with the students rather than having them up there and presenting. Now again, if your whole goal is to have them up there and presenting, then you've taken that away and you still want to do that. This is just another way of getting around it. Because I guess you can take a PowerPoint and create a VoiceThread from that, you can't then take a VoiceThread's embed code and put it into a PowerPoint, which I tried to do. So I just linked to one just so you can kind of get a sense, assuming this will load up here for us. Open, meh. Thank you, IE. You can leave now. All right, let me try. Oh. Well, that was it. Hold on. Let me grab this link. 1 second. There it is. All right. Copy this. Over this. All right. So, this is like my meta VoiceThread. So the idea is, here's the slide. I've uploaded all my slides. You can see, no you can't. Oh, there it is, 1 of 28. So there's 28 slides in this presentation. If I click on this button here, this will show me all of the slides. If I've recorded narration on here and set timings, then narration would play and it would just start moving forward. I haven't done that on this slide at least. But here I have, and I've even recorded video so you can see me, but you can't hear me. I have the ability to make that bigger, not that you'd want it to be bigger. So the idea is you have your presentation, you record the audio, you then share that with the students, and then again, it can be just a one-way, this is the presentation, but you can also set up slides where you say, okay, we're talking about this topic. Respond here with your comment on what you think we should do in this situation. Students may then have the ability to click on, so I'm not signed in, to click on this plus sign here. What happens is that kind of expands and they have a number of different ways in which they can respond. They can write a text comment, which will just appear. They can record audio and or video. There's actually even a thing where you can say, here's my phone number, call me, and you call and you leave a message, and then that message gets processed as the audio on the slide, which when I'm doing VoiceThread presentations, it's like a super cool, we live in the future moment, for me anyway. And so that's, again, it's like, we're trying to get away from anyone who's still saying, well, I have this PowerPoint, I've recorded audio over it, I'm sharing the PPT or PPTX file with my students so that they can hear it. The problem is, well, you created your PPTX on a Mac using this version of Word or PowerPoint, and I'm on a PC and I got this and I don't hear the audio, and now I'm calling Michael and Michael's like, why are they still using voice over PowerPoints? This kind of takes out that clash of cultures between the two types of platforms and says everything's just through the browser. This used to be Flash-based, it's now HTML5, so even Flash has been removed. So it's pretty smooth. Again, I don't think it fits in every scenario, but basically they have, when you're doing the comments, you can actually have threaded comments, so it's almost like you can have audio discussions in a voice thread. There's also like private discussion responses. So again, if you ask the students to do something, you can then respond privately to them to say, oh, this is really great, you should focus on this, so no one else sees your kind of grading feedback. But like I said, that was VoiceThread. So, yes?
So where do I go to create a recording?
I
went there, but it took me to Blackboard.
So when you're using VoiceThread, it's integrated through Blackboard, so you'd actually want to,
I need to go to a class.
yes, and if you hover over build content on a content area, you'll see VoiceThread presentation. You do that, you create a link. When you click on the link, you'd activate the link to say this is a course view link, which links them to all the VoiceThreads you share with the course, or this is an individual VT link where I just want them to watch lecture 3. And then you choose the VoiceThread you have, and from that interface, you can create a new one. You're already authenticated as your Drexel account, which will give you unlimited voice threads, and then you would go from there.
I take one-on-one class. My professor says, hey, I went to one of your recordings.
Yeah.
I can go to his class, launch from there as a student?
Yes.
And then
If the link has been provided, yes.
so I can ask him if he does not know about this.
Yeah, if it's not, so this is something the instructor or the teaching assistant has to put into the course and activate. Like students can't just use this in a course. This is something that has to come from the top down. We only have 3 minutes left. Thank you. I just wanted to say there's lots of other technologies. I didn't mention in the beginning, but one thing to do is keep accessibility in mind. The fact that as you're creating these things, just be mindful that you may have students in the future who have audio or visual impairments or other impairments, and make sure you're creating content that's as accessible as it can be for everyone. That'll just kind of future-proof it. And thank you so much for this opportunity. Does anyone have any last questions before I go? Well, again, don't hesitate to come over to Corman, to call us, to email us. We're here. Again, you can, if you don't have a place, if you don't have an office or a place to work, you can come over to 109 and hang out with us. We're there to help you. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the day and your weekend. Thank you.
If you like the presentation and you want to watch it again, it'll be available on the Graduate College website under the coffee seminar. So the next professional development workshop is scheduled for March 2nd, and it's about engaging students in a classroom, which goes hand in hand with this workshop. So see you next time. Thank you so much for coming.